Namaste, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Blooming Lotus Healing Channel. My name is Jakara, and I am a spiritual healing facilitator. I help people clear programs from other lifetimes by accessing the Akashic records using a method called spiritual response therapy. This method is grounded in with charts and with the use of the pendulum, and that helps me navigate the information and clear energies and programs from this lifetime and other lifetimes that can be affecting you in the present moment. So, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I have been posting different things and I'm trying to really just give you a value in finding ways to inspire you to continue your healing path. Because I know the healing path can be sometimes a little overwhelming and sometimes even exhausting. And sometimes we need those little nudges and reminders that we can keep going. And sometimes we just need a little bit of an inspiration. So, you have noticed that last month or 2 months ago, I posted a video with Antoinette Thompson. She is a healer herself, and she created an oracle deck, and I was really drawn to her. But then that inspired me to really start connecting with other people who are also healers, either self-healers or self-healers and at the same time healing others, or people who are basically just in service for the world. And the reason why I wanted to bring these people in is because the idea is for them to share their stories and share their struggles. So in turn, serve as a mirror for you to be able to find inspiration in this in these conversations, and hopefully find also kind of like something that will activate you, right? So all of these conversations are going to be with different types of people, different walks of life, and the idea again is for you to be inspired and healed just by listening to these conversations. So the person that I'm bringing in today is Bryan Chenault. In many things in this human experience, he's a father, a partner, student, academically and spiritually. But most importantly, he is a human that has found the power inside of him to actively create his life side by side with the Great Spirit. In 2013, a life altering event set the stage for great change and a gravitation towards a multitude of holistic practices. This period was marked by many dark nights of the soul and deep spiritual healing. His story is told in the book Wake Them Up, Bring Them Home. Home is where your heart is. This book was written to be an example of deep personal change that can take place in any individual when they begin to love themselves more. It is written for this time of change and awakening we are in as a species and society, to be a mirror for those that are stuck. The obstacles are the path, and we are our own healer. Bryan is a new yoga teacher to the Kalamazoo, Michigan area, a Munaiki mentor and energy worker. Currently, Bryan is pursuing an undergraduate degree in psychology and is a member of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. His goal with this degree is to put together a comprehensive course on the history of plant medicines, the deep insights associated with these ceremonies, and the science that backs the use of them in psychiatry. By the time this is possible, our understanding of these medicines will be much deeper. You can find the work he is doing with his partner via Facebook at Rewrite My Story, Rewrite My Story 8 on Instagram, and rewritemystory.com. So re/writemystory.com. So I am super excited to introduce you all to Bryan. This conversation was beautiful. I was really floored by all of the insights that he shared, and also basically the process that he went through to really go back to himself and learn how to love himself, like he like I'm mentioning on his introduction. So I hope that you find this conversation powerful. I am still working on my interviewing skills. So please, forgive me if there's anything that doesn't look right. I'm learning still, and this is the opportunity for me to learn and grow. So if you have any suggestions or any comments, feel free to leave them on the comment section below. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and end this section of the video, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to Bryan Chenault. Thank you. All right. Well, welcome, Bryan. So
Hello.
grateful. So grateful to have
Yes.
you here.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, absolutely. I'm so grateful, and I'm so happy that that you took the time and space to talk to me today and get this on recording. So I'm so excited to just share your energy and your story with my audience.
Absolutely. My
And
pleasure.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like your story, after I participated in one of your episodes with on your own channel, and some of the things that you shared with me just really just activated me in such a deep way. And I was just so grateful that I got to share my story with you, but also to receive some of your stories. So I wanted to invite you here so you can share a little bit more about you and basically how you got started in your healing journey. So can you
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about that? How you got started with your healing journey?
Absolutely. So when I was 23 years old, 22 or 23 years old, I was a homeless drug addict. I was moving around from house to house, essentially praying for death, just waiting for it to take me. And I got to a point where I was so hopeless and so broken that through that darkness, something new shined through. I had a vision of heaven on earth. I went to jail for 40 days. In jail, I started praying daily. I started working with the Bible, and I started to receive messages in my studies. And when I got out, I was left really confused, but I something had shifted. I don't know what it was. I don't know how to explain it, but all of a sudden I was questioning who I was. I was questioning what I was doing. I was questioning my motives. I was questioning why I was harming myself, why I was being mean to other people, why I was doing all these things that was against my soul. And slowly, I started to unravel and become something new. It took many years. This process has been ongoing. And what I had to do was really look deeply at myself and figure out what I needed to do to be responsible for me, to take care of my goals, myself, to fulfill my emotional needs, to make myself feel confident in my own skin, to love myself. And what really happened was when I had that vision of heaven on earth, my world shifted in a very, very violent way. I started to remove pieces of myself that weren't necessarily mine to begin with, but were held on to me because of my own traumas. But ayahuasca, meditation, Reiki, the Monai Key rites, and so many other modalities have really helped me shift in the direction that I want to go rather than continue to go with the unconscious processes that take place with the conditioning that happens through our childhood and the traumas that we take on.
Do you feel that the Bible was the Kickstarter for you? Was that the
Yes,
first
absolutely.
thing?
Absolutely. In a weird way, it actually started in 2010 or 9. Went to the jail for the first time. I know my story has a lot to do with jail. It's just part of it. Um, I actually had a man speak to me in light language. He called it tongues, and he told me a Bible verse immediately after speaking to me in this language, and the Bible verse had something to do with what you ask for of me, I shall give to you.
Mm.
essentially. I don't remember what the Bible verse exactly was, but it was basically manifestation in itself. It was like, you speak what you want, and you receive it from me. And yeah, the Bible has been a huge part of my process personally, but uh, I've also channeled Jesus on multiple occasions. I continue to. I don't know. Me and him have a really good, really weird relationship. I can pretty much call on him, and he's there. It's the most loving presence ever, too. It's incredible. But it all started with that vision. I had no hope. That vision woke me up in a really weird way, and it's took me in a direction that I never anticipated. I always thought I was going to be homeless or just going in no direction for a long time. That vision shifted my perspective just enough to make me start aiming in a direction that was positive.
So I wanted to ask you about this because I mean, where your story is, it's intense. You know, it's a reality for a lot of people out there. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, and it's just so beautiful to see the transformation. I mean, when I met you, you were sharing Reiki, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in the Reiki group on Facebook. And I would have never thought, right, that was your story. I never would have thought that because the energy that you exuded and you've always, you know, that the energy that I've felt from you, even though I haven't met you personally, but the energy that I have felt from you every time has been so just so bright and so such a beautiful light. So I just wanted to ask you about this because you know I want to zero in on the process, right? So like the
Mm-hmm.
process, it started with that shift, right? Like that
Mm-hmm.
perspective shift, with which of course that's a
Mm-hmm.
powerful thing, but it doesn't stop there, right?
Nope.
So tell me, can you tell me a little bit about that unpacking that happened for you
Mm-hmm.
and that
Absolutely.
process?
Yes. So the main unpacking really started to begin after ayahuasca. Ayahuasca ceremony basically showed it all to me as a movie. All of my trauma, all of the things I held on to. It showed me my fears packaged in my kidneys. It showed me my anger packaged in my liver. It showed me all of these things. And after these visions subsided, I didn't really know what to do with all of it because I had just re experienced everything and everything was from a different perspective. But from there, the years that followed, what happened was a lot of journaling for me, a lot of therapy, life coaching courses. I started to um, really look deeply at what was going on under the surface of my mind to see where my actions, my thoughts, my um, judgments of others, my expectations of the world, how those things were formed from my early years. And most of them were. I personally believe that unpacking a lot of the early trauma from my life was the most important thing because I was able to unpack what made me feel unsafe in my own body, what made me feel like I wasn't allowed to feel my emotions, what made me feel less than. And unpacking that through journaling and therapy is really what did the work for me. But also further, my ayahuasca purge. Have you ever heard of a step in?
No, so I'd love to hear about this.
I don't know if this would necessarily be considered a step in, but when I purged from ayahuasca, a piece of my own inner child left. About a year after Taylor and I found out we were having a baby, that piece of my inner child was the baby that we had. So
Wow.
I don't know how um, it came to me, but all of a sudden I knew. And the way I interacted with him and the way I interacted with my own inner child changed as well because it made me like really viscerally realize that the experiences we put on our children are going to be passed down in one way or another. And if we are able to pass down experiences of feeling safe, feeling their emotions fully, and allowing them to feel confident in their own skin, they can continue to live and prosper and develop. those are the three like basic needs of the lower chakra system, which is developed within the first 7 years.
Right. Yes. Okay. So step in. I think I know. I think I know it from a different word
Yes.
on my SRT. We call it transfer student. So basically,
Mm,
somebody that transfers over, like a piece of the soul,
mm-hmm,
or a committee of that soul that goes over to somebody else to help them out
mm-hmm,
in their journey. So
mm-hmm.
is that what you were? Is that
Kind
what
of.
you're kind of like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my case, it was more like a piece of me stepped out
Right.
and stepped into something else. And that
Wow.
something else was my son.
That is so fascinating because when I think about that, I think about the mirroring that's happening between you and your son.
Mm-hmm. Oh, every
And that
day.
is such a powerful, powerful healing that's happening between you both. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. And I'm not surprised about this because with some of the healing work that I do with ancestral work,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that shows up a lot is that we are the ancestor sometimes,
Yes.
and then we come in several stages of the family tree to help, right, to help
Mm-hmm.
the family tree move forward into healing because it's deep work. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised actually that you're saying that. So yeah, so I just wanted to ask you about this because okay, I want to ask you. So, in this line of work that we're in, which is this line of work of healing and really just
Mm-hmm.
expanding consciousness, um, it tends to I tend to notice that there's more women that are flocking to
Mm-hmm.
this than men, and I just the one thing that I feel is that I want to have these conversations, these open conversations with more men. That's
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I'm so excited that you're here today, because I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to ask you about how do you feel this process of unpacking? Is this something that was hard for you because of the programming that you received as a man?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So can
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit about that? Like that unpack, like
It's
that struggle, right? I feel like
mm-hmm.
it's a struggle for a lot of men.
There was a period of time for about a year after my son was born where I cried almost hysterically every day. And
Mm,
I couldn't control it. It was like an emotional purging beyond belief. And I felt like I was just a terrible father. I felt like I was never going to be good at this because I didn't have a father of my own. I felt like I was just going to ruin my son. Felt like my mom ruined me. And this was a really dark period. But
mm,
during this period, I really didn't have anybody that I could go to other than my wife and my mom to talk to. And they really helped me unpack all of it. But outside of that, there was no male figures in my life I could talk to, no male friends that I could talk to about this stuff. Because when I was unpacking it, I was working in a restaurant, and a lot of those people don't even unpack their own stuff. And
mm.
but
Yeah,
it
that's
was difficult, especially as a male. I was coming into work every day, having cried for like 4 hours that morning about having a child I didn't know what to do with, and I didn't have anybody I could just be like, "Hey, I had a bad day this morning because one, I can't sleep. Two, I'm sick from the illness that was ravaging my life at the time, and three, I had so many thoughts, judgments about myself, and things coming all the time from so many different points of view in my own head that it was honestly the hardest period of time in my life. But at the
mm.
same time, I was able to do so much in therapy. I was able to do so much in therapy. I was able to do so much in journaling.
Do you feel that we need more circles for men to be able to come
Yes.
into and step into more of that non-judgment space where they can express and cry and
Hmm.
express their emotions?
I absolutely believe so. I
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think so. And it's funny you mentioned that because I've been kicking around the idea of starting a men's group in my area at the shop I work for. If I don't know how many men would be willing to do it, but if I can, that would be awesome because I know everybody is dealing with something in some shape or form, but men have the highest rates of suicide, they have the highest rates of incarceration, highest rates of dying on the job, and they literally are told shut up, suck it up, go be a man. And no matter what they're going through, a lot of people don't listen and don't want to listen. But we all need someone, everyone. And the moment men realize that they can ask, they will.
Hmm. And I feel so, so connected to this idea, and I hope that you do that because I
I
feel
hope so too.
it's a beautiful thing, and I feel so, like I feel so supported as a woman. There's so many women circles, there's so many things because we're so much open to it, but
Mhm.
having these conversations with men, I feel don't happen as much. And there's also this misconception that men don't have emotions. Like, I
Mhm.
know for me, even growing up, for me, I thought, well, men don't have emotions, they don't, because there was like this disconnect, right? Like, you've been taught to disconnect from your emotions.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to ask you about this. Like, you connected to your emotions, but how hard was it for you to get to the point where you're connecting to these emotions? Or was it something that just kind of switched for you, and you were just able to just connect to it? Or were you feeling like lost in it? Like, okay, what do I do with all this emotional
There was
charge?
multiple times I felt lost. Absolutely. Um, at the very beginning of my awakening, I was finally starting to get my feet under me, and at that period of time, I was feeling lost. I pretty much isolated myself to a apartment for, I want to say, 8 months. Hung out with Taylor, and did personal work, watched documentaries, started to educate myself, and there's been multiple times where I've just been lost in lost in the sauce, for lack of a good way to put it, in my emotions or in my own bad habits or any of these things. But it's all been a blessing at the end of the day, even those moments of feeling lost, because once I have gotten through it, it seems a lot brighter. Everything makes a lot more sense. Things get put together more efficiently.
So I wanted to ask you about, so you're married, you have a kid,
Hmm.
and in this process of unpacking, especially with your kid just really igniting so much of that release for you,
Hmm.
which feels very ancestral.
Hmm.
Um, how have your relationships shifted since you've done all of this healing, all of this work? Do you feel like you're embodying that divine masculine at this moment of your life, or do you feel like you still need to do more work?
I feel like I will always have to do work in some way, shape, or form, just because there's maybe not even just for me, but for everybody else. There's always some type of sacrifice that can be made within our own self to make the world better for others. But to answer that the easiest way, yes, we. I don't know how many of us there are. I'm not going to put a number to it, but there are enough men out there to at least balance the energies out. But you got to also think the masculine world has kind of been running things for the last couple of 100 years. And it makes sense, especially with this kind of shift of consciousness happening, that women would be the first ones, because that's what's balancing out. Masculine and the feminine are balancing. And something that came to my image in my head that came a second ago, proof that the world has been masculine. What have we been doing? We have been working on building our buildings as high as possible up into the sky where the father resides, and trying to shoot rockets into the sky where the father resides. What's happening now? We're becoming more earth focused. So we're focusing our energy and attention on fixing the problems that are taking place on the earth where the mother resides.
Yeah, that's powerful. I love that. And I wanted to ask you, what is your relationship with the divine feminine energy inside of you? How has that shifted for you since you've started your healing journey? How is that showing up for you now?
I think I've always had a connection to the divine feminine energy. My mom was raised me as an only child, and I had a lot of women around for my life. But I was also a very sensitive kid. I've always been very sensitive, always been quite emotional, um, triggered easily at times. But I would cry on the snap of a hat too. Uh, but I would say that the best way I can put it, ayahuasca is a good way to represent the divine feminine. And ayahuasca, I know, has been with me my entire life.
Mm,
She has been preparing me for meeting her in Florida and seeing her again with Drew Banky.
that's beautiful. So do you feel like you needed to do more of that divine masculine healing then in this lifetime? Do you feel like that's more, or has it been like both
It's
for
definitely been
you?
both. Both.
Definitely been both. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So yeah, it's interesting, it feels so, we talked about plant medicine before, on our call before. And yes, I'm so glad that you're talking about this because plant medicine has been a huge impact in my life. I am about to sit with Mama Aya in September, and I
Oh,
told you,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm so excited.
Yes. Yeah,
I
I
haven't I
remember.
haven't sat with her yet, so this is gonna be my first time, and I'm looking forward to it. But I've been working with the beautiful spirit of the mushroom,
Mhm.
and it's been such a loving, heart opening, uh, just experience for me to
Mhm.
really reconnect to my heart and see the parts of me that are not open. So I just wanted to ask you about the process of opening your heart to yourself and to others through this journey of plant medicine. Like, how was that experience for you when you were sitting with the medicine? What did she show you that
First
that let,
time,
let you know that your heart was closed?
first time that I sat with ayahuasca, I had a very conflicting experience. I purged all night. I didn't really understand what was going on. The next night, I sat with her again, and when she showed me all of my trauma, she showed where it was blocking. There,
Mm,
where like fear was blocking my kidneys, and how I was afraid, and where I was afraid, and what experiences made me feel that fear. She showed me the anger that was lingering in my liver, which was held on by the experiences that made me angry. And she showed me all of the places where I didn't love myself. And
mm,
when she began to show me that, she also began to show me aspects of myself that I had never really gotten in touch with. And following that, it still took some time to integrate. Ayahuasca was a challenging experience. I call it beautifully destructive because when I walked out of it, I was kind of confused. However, what I did see gave me a glimpse of what I needed for the baggage to be cleared.
mm,
I guess that's the best way I can explain it. The first set of ceremonies was, I feel like it was like my initiation into manhood, and it was my way of putting everything else behind me and figuring out how I can use that for fuel and motivation rather than use it as a way to destroy myself, which is exactly what happened. I started to actually put in the work after that and really deeply work on how I was treating my own self, how I was treating other people, what I was doing in this life, and how I was, but still took time. I took me still 3 years after that to get back into college. Now I'm a year and a half, 2 years into it, and I'm doing better than I ever have been, but I still feel like there's a lot of pieces to put together.
mm. Yeah, so and I love that you're saying that because I was just recording a video today about this. The healing is it's a practice.
Mhm.
It's a practice,
Mhm.
and there's really no destination.
No.
And sometimes I feel like
I
there's
feel
this
like
misconception,
I feel like there's one destination.
what is the
Become our mo
destination?
become our most authentic self.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, acceptance, right? The
Mhm.
acceptance, the full acceptance of ourselves. I agree. I
Mhm.
agree 100% with you. However, that destination, it's still part of the journey. Like, I feel like we still
Mhm.
continue to develop and unfold, right? Like in
Mhm.
that process. Like the message that I've been getting, and I don't know if you gotten this message, that spirit just tells me, you'll be done when you're gone. When you're
Mhm.
basically like, that's basically when you're that's that's when you're done with this period, right? Until you go
Yep.
to the next life. um but I digress. So I just wanted to ask you about this because the what would you tell somebody who is feeling right now like something that I hear a lot. I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm revisiting this and I'm having such a hard time, because I thought that I was done with this, but then now when I revisit, it still hurts, right?"
Mhm.
And what would you tell somebody that's going through that experience to help them change that perspective of, "Oh, well, I'm regressing in
Mhm.
my journey."
There's no regress. There's always progressing, there's always changing, there's always moving forward. We're always shifting in one direction or another, and whether that direction is backwards, forwards, up and down, it doesn't matter. It's always happening. But when we are having those moments of struggle, if it's bringing you back to a memory you have trouble looking at in your own mind, one thing that you can always do is try and change that memory in your own mind, give yourself the attention you needed in that time period. There's also sitting with it and actually feeling it and seeing how that emotion actually exists within you, and be easy on yourself. Really, you're going to get through it. And the more you hold on, the more you resist it, the harder it's going to be to get through it.
So, can you tell me a little bit about what you do and how are you helping people move through their own traumas and experiences from coming to you where they're probably lost? Like, what do you usually do to move them through that process of, okay, I feel a little better than I did before when I came to see you, basically? Like,
Mm,
what do you do typically with somebody that's working with you?
uh, Got to be present first. Got to be able to listen to them and see what they're actually going through, and allow them to actually, let out what they need to let out. And second, help them find the answer for themselves. There's always questions that you can ask. There's always things that you can say that can shift a perspective in somebody's mind. Uh, can easily change the way somebody views their situation by asking the right question at the right time. That question can change the point of view in their own mind so they can see solutions better. Uh, One of the things that I would like to be doing, though, with people is I would like to be passing down the Monite key rights. I think
Mm,
that's what caused the biggest shift within me. It was a period of energetic detoxification and activation. But the Monarchy rights are an invitation for creating a new earth. They really are. They are reconnections to the hand chakras. They are connecting our luminous energy field back to our body. It connects us to all of the archetypal structures of of being, the earth grid, the sacred sites grids, the mountains. It connects us all back all to all of these things. That's what I really hope to be doing.
so the for I'm not really familiar with the. I mean, I've heard of the Munaiki,
Mhm,
right? I've heard of it. I actually saw, like, I don't know if you ever heard of Udemy. Like, there's like a little class that
mhm,
introduces you to it,
mhm,
and I was looking at it, and but what would be the best way to describe it for somebody who doesn't really, who's basically coming into to this, that basically they don't know anything, right, about
mhm,
anything spiritual, anything, like they're coming in with not, like they don't have any knowledge, right, of anything. They're
mhm.
just kind of like being introduced to it. How would you describe it for somebody like that?
Describe them when I key rights to somebody.
Yeah, that has like completely no knowledge of anything spiritual or energetic or anything like that. How would you approach describing that to them?
They help you create the life you want for yourself and for others. That's the main message I get from the rights. And if I was talking to somebody who knew something about spirituality, I would mention the chakra system and how it reconnects you there. But the main thing that the main message I can give somebody who knows nothing about it is that it helps you create a life better for yourself.
So do you feel like it gives you like a guideline? Basically, it's like a guideline for you to follow, like a guideline of
Do
life.
do you
Would that be?
remember how I don't know how your energetic attunements for Reiki were. Mine were fairly intense and had quite a bit of energetic shifting. With the Monai rites, there is definitely an energetic sensation that comes with passing them down and
Mm,
receiving them. And once you work with them even a little bit, they start to really work deeply on your energetic system. So
mm,
somebody who does not know anything about the energetic system, knew very little about the energetic system when I started work with them. Since I began working with them, I've learned so much just from working with my own system that I don't think a book could really cover it.
wow. Okay. So, where did it start, the Munaiki?
Monarchy rights have a complicated history.
Okay.
There's so the early shamanic practitioners are theorized to have traveled to the Americas sometime about 10,000 to 15,000 years ago. At that time, there were supposedly rites of initiation that were passed down from those original shamanic practitioners to the medicine people of the North Americas and the South Americas. The Quira tribe of the Andes has been using these rites for many years, and variations of the rites can be seen throughout the Americas in different, I guess, ceremonial organization or in different postures or different modes of transmission. But in 2006, the creator right was passed down human to human for the first time. Dr.
Mm,
Alberto Villado had been working with the Quiro tribe for about 30 years, learning about the medicines, learning about energy work, learning about the shamanic practices of their culture. And he was given permission to develop the rites into an initiatory practice for anybody for the entire world. They are all inclusive, as many people who want to receive it need to receive it because this is being passed down directly from the elders of the Quiro to Alberto Villado to all of the practitioners that are on the world today. And the goal is to get as many people with the rights to prepare our minds, our bodies, our spirits for the ascension process, for the expansion of consciousness, for the times that we're in right now. Essentially, it's supposed to help us align with the highest timeline imaginable for
wow.
all of us.
That is so powerful. So it sounds like it's also a practice that you have to do for yourself, right? Like
Hmm.
you have to practice and prepare. And
Yes.
I don't know how it was for you, but I know for me, like when I got uh like I got Reiki, like the Reiki was passed down to me. I had to prepare for it, right? Like
Hmm.
there's a preparation that you have to do even with your body, like there's
Hmm.
a way that you want to eat, and amounts of water that you need to drink, and all of these different things that you have to do to make sure that you're preparing for it.
Hmm.
So with this practice, do you feel like people, for example, like if I wanted to go to you, for example, and get this for myself, is this something that I can just continue to practice on my own, or is this
Yes.
something that has to be passed down,
Once it
uh something that I have to continue passing down, basically?
You do not have to continue passing it down if you choose not to. That's completely up to you. Um, you can continue to work with it on your own though. The the Monai rights also teach you a couple of different methods to work with um, what I call is your eighth chakra, your soul star, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what everybody's terminology for these things are, but it helps you learn how to open that up into a bubble around you. It helps you use that bubble of information, which is basically all of your higher self's blueprint, and use it for your dreaming of your life.
Mm, that's so beautiful. That kind of reminds me a little bit of I don't know if you ever heard of human design,
Mm,
but it kind
hmm.
of reminds me a little bit of like that blueprint that we
Hmm.
have that is specific to us, and how we're meant to connect to that and realize. So that's
Hmm.
basically what you're connecting to that beautiful
Yeah.
uniqueness of who you are.
Yes.
Oh,
And
that's powerful.
it's a practice in so many ways because it's nine rites of initiation. The healer's right, the bands of power, the harmony right, the seer's right, or the foundation rights. The healer's right connects you to medicine people from every timeline you can think of. It's
Mm,
non There's no culture really behind it. It connects you to the timeline and the healers that you need to be connected to for your highest good. It opens your hand chakras more effectively, connects your hands to your heart. That's the healer's right. The bands of power puts bands of energy in your auric field that help cleanse anything that is being siphoned out of your chakras for your experience or pushed into your energetic system from other people. It helps cleanse that. The harmony
yeah.
right plants seeds of a potential in the chakra system that when you work with them, they unlock with bits of knowledge, bits of wisdom. Like, for example, the snake is the seed of potential that is lodged in your root chakra. The snake is here to teach us how to shed our skin, how to shed the
Hmm.
past, to release what is no longer serving us. It's one of the main messages of the snake archetype. And each one of these seeds of potential has nuggets of wisdom stored within those seeds. The seer's right connects your third eye to your heart chakra. So you can understand and interpret the messages that you get for yourself better. The day keeper's right, wisdom keeper's right, and earth keeper's right connect you to the feminine section of the earth grid, masculine section of the earth grid, and the entirety of the earth grid together. We are a mirror of the earth grid. It connects it in our own body, and then it connects it to the earth, and it matches. The best way I can explain it: the more we correct our own earth grid, the more the earth grid around us can mirror back to us what we
Mm,
are making. The Star Keeper's right connects us to the stars, Pallade, Sirius connects us to the star beings that are here ready to help us at any time. And the Creator's right awakens the spark of the Creator within our heart. It helps us to create the life we want.
that is so powerful. I am so ready to be. I'm so ready. Like, I love it because it's such a. So it's basically you're taking a just on a journey of activations.
Yes. And
Basically, that's the journey of activations. Do you feel this is I mean, I know you can't compare things, but I just for the sake of this conversation, do you feel this is more powerful than Reiki? Or is
it
it
is
equal to
Reiki.
Reiki? It is
Everything
Reiki.
everything is the same thing. It's all the source. We're all pieces of the living source. Reiki is a piece of the source, and Reiki is a piece of the source. It's all the same thing. Reiki is an activation. We're all just awakening with any of these practices to that inner light, that inner creator, that inner being that is connected to everything.
That's beautiful.
What the
Yeah.
Monai rites though is it gets it gets very deep to the energetic system, and it gets deep into what is being stored within our own personal grids. We can start to siphon in the cosmic divine energy that we were meant to bring in.
That is so powerful. Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it so much. And you know, and I've heard about it again. I told you that I kind of took like a little bit. I didn't really finish the class. And I guess it wasn't for me at the moment, but now
Mm-hmm.
that the way that you're describing it, I think that just maybe that teacher wasn't as explaining it the way that you were explaining it, but this
Mm-hmm.
feels so rounded. It feels very well rounded in many aspects because it's addressing all of our it's all of our different avenues of
Mm-hmm.
healing and activating our our connection to the creator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it
And it
sounds
connects us
so
to so many
beautiful.
beings that are here to help us.
Yeah, that's
The day keepers,
powerful.
wisdom keepers, earth keepers, star keepers, the healers, all of them are here ready to help us right now. There are our spiritual army that is standing behind us. Some of them may be our ancestors, some of them may be our past lives, some of them may be beings that we touched hearts with in another universe or another planet. Who knows? But there's dozens of beings ready to help us with these rights at all times, without the rights too. The rights definitely connect you deeply to some of these too.
Yeah, I mean, that's true because I mean that without the rights, you can
Mhm.
still connect as long as you're setting the intention,
Yeah.
and you're basically asking for the help, maybe you know who you want to connect to, you can still do that.
Mhm.
You can still absolutely connect to whoever. I mean, because I mean, some people just channel and connect to all of these different beings without ever being activated with anything. You know,
Mhm.
they're just like they just spontaneously start channeling and connecting. So, which is so fascinating to me. I've had some clients that have told me that, and it's just so beautiful to see that we're
Mhm.
getting activated in such a way. And I feel like, and I agree with you. I feel like this is a time where we're definitely shifting
Mhm.
consciousness in on this earth, and you know, for those of us who, like you, right, and I, like, we've been through a lot of trauma, we've been through a lot, but I feel like there was a divine purpose for all of this. Do you feel the same way? There was a
Yeah,
divine purpose for us to go through
absolutely.
this?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
also feel like every experience is made from divine purpose. It's it's all perfectly planned. It's just how it is. I am so grateful for the experiences I've had in my life. I'm grateful for the Reiki classes. I'm grateful for the Monai. I'm grateful for the trauma. I'm grateful for the plant medicines. I'm grateful for this life. The message that I say I'm probably the most grateful for is when I came to the realization that I am my own medicine and I'm the best thing that's going to help me and fix me. And
Mm.
that's what everybody is for themselves. But every single piece of our life has divine purpose, some type of lesson, some type of mission it's trying to achieve for our soul.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And sometimes, you know, I like to I'm so happy that we're having this conversation because sometimes it's so hard, right? When you're I know for me, when I was going through it, it was very hard to see what was the, you know, I was in that victim mode, right? Like I was like, oh, why me? Like, why does this happen to me? Like, this wasn't supposed to, like, so it's just one of those where
I'm
it's so
sorry
nice
about
to.
that.
Oh, can you hear me?
It's okay. My son tried to barge in the room. Taylor stopped him.
It's okay, no
I
worries.
didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just saying that when it comes down to being able to get to that point where we're grateful for these experiences, you know, um I know for me, I don't know for you, but I know when I was going through it, it was very hard for me to even see that, right? Like I wasn't,
Hmm.
like if you would have walked into the room and told me the same, we would have had the same conversation. I would have been looking at you like you had like four eyes, because I'm like,
Hmm.
what the heck are you talking about? Like, you don't know what I'm going through. You don't know what this feels like. You don't, you get triggered, right?
Hmm.
But I feel like that's where, like that's where, when you get to the point where you can be grateful for these experiences and be able to look back from a place of gratitude, from a
Hmm.
place of understanding and a place of expansion. I feel like that's when you know that you've healed this part of yourself, right?
Hmm.
And do you feel the same way? Do you feel that that's the telltale sign for you? Like, okay,
Hmm.
like I feel like when I feel triggered about this, like I know that I still have to do a little bit of work. But then when I look at this other part of myself, and this feels well, this feels okay. Like I know this is fine. Like this is something
Hmm.
that I'm able to just let go of and let be. Do you feel the
Hmm.
same way about that?
Yes, I definitely. I I feel like once we get to the point where we can be grateful and hold appreciation for the experiences we had, no matter what they really look like, good, bad, indifferent, that's when we know that those things no longer really have any hold on our consciousness. I mean, I there's some memories that still come up today that are triggering, that are hard for me to deal with, that I'm still traversing through. But then there are other things where it's like I know it happened the way it did for X amount of reasons, and it was perfect the way it was, and it's just how it is.
It's interesting, and the reason why I'm asking you this question, and I know you probably mentioned it in passing at the beginning of the conversation, but the reason why I was asking you this question is because think about it this way: how is it that, in a way, we know that healing has been done, and is a universal thought, is a universal understanding? You know, you've come to this understanding on your own, and I've come to this understanding on my own, and we've had two different, completely different paths.
Mhm.
And we haven't really talked about this before, but then here we are having this conversation, and we're able to really meet on the same spot and say, yeah, that's how I feel too.
Mhm.
About this, about feeling that I've healed this part of myself.
Mhm.
That's the beauty of this journey. I feel like that regardless of the fact that we've had the details of our journey, are so they're different, right? Like the details of your journey are different than mine, but the underlying, connection, like kind of like you were saying, when we were having the conversation a couple weeks ago, that we are all in the same, like the same things happen underneath
Mhm.
at the energetic level for all of us. Like we
Mhm.
all arrive at the same spot,
Mhm.
which is so cool to me
It
to
is.
see.
It is very cool. There's a lot of people that I've talked to on this journey that come to the same exact epiphanies, the same revelations, whatever you want to call them. And basically the message is slightly different. It's tweaked verbiage wise, but they're saying the same thing. They're coming to the same conclusions, and they're finding it differently, which is incredible to me because that just means something is happening. These revelations are happening, and they're coming to people in an, a super diverse type of way, but they're all coming back with the same message.
Right. And so, okay, so I know that you said that your journey kick-started with that, with the visions, and then also, really connecting to the Bible and the light language also. That was something that,
Hmm.
and receiving all of that. Do you feel there's something else that was guiding you even during those dark times? Like, do you feel like maybe something else was guiding you throughout, even during those times that you maybe didn't think you were guided?
Absolutely. I know
I
I've
feel the
been
same
guided.
way.
Yeah. I know I've been guided my whole life in a really weird way. I don't really remember how from childhood and adolescence, but from when I was 17 on, there's been way too many weird coincidences, way too many weird sensations in the body, tingling up the spine at weird times. There's just been too many things that point to synchronicity or universal winks or whatever you want to call it. I call them God winks when it's like crazy series of numbers, or you hear somebody talking about something that you were just thinking about, or those kind of things, synchronicities. There's been too many of those in the last 10 years, 12 years to deny it at this point. There's been something guiding it.
Do you feel do you feel that we are do you feel that we need to be approaching our healing from all directions at the same time, or do you feel we should focus on one thing at a time? How was that journey for you? Like, did you focus on one thing at a time? Like, when I talk about like our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, like, what do you feel was the first point of entrance for you?
Emotional. Emotional is
Emotional.
definitely the first thing that I started to deal with. I held on to a lot of anger. So I started to unravel that anger probably for multiple years. I still have moments of, short temperedness, but uh, I unraveled anger, I unraveled sadness and other emotions that were weighing me down first before I was really even able to do anything else. Physically, probably came last for me just because I was sick with Crohn's disease at the time that a lot of this was taking place. And up until
Mhm.
2020, I was very sick. I had a surgery in 2020 that helped fix the physical ailment, and I've been in remission since. But
Mm.
the real thing that I had to clear first was definitely emotional, mental too. I mean, those kind of run hand in hand, though.
Yeah.
Emotional and mental. I had to really work with the memories that I was holding on to, a lot of the suppressed things, and a lot of the uh, feelings I held on to regarding my mother and my father and who I was. There was a lot of time that I was more dealing with confidence than anything, confidence problems.
It's interesting that you're mentioning that you started with the emotional and the mental aspect of things. I feel that this is just my own experience and my own opinion. Of course, everybody is different and everybody has a different path. but
Mhm.
I feel that that's been the most effective way to approach things, because I know for me that I've tried going the direction of physical first, and for whatever reason it just doesn't, like, you have to address the other stuff too. And when you're only addressing the physical, but then you're not addressing the emotional and the spiritual and the mental, to me all three of those
Mhm.
are go hand in hand. I feel like the physical kind of like just bounces back to the same place over and over again because you're not addressing this part.
Mhm.
And I'm observing that even in my own with my own mother. She's going through breast cancer, and
Mhm.
that's a conversation that I've started to have with her about her emotional and mental and spiritual work,
Mhm.
because they're already taking care of the physical with all the physical stuff they're doing and the medications and everything, but like
Mhm.
this other part of us that we have to address. And I feel like this is not something that is really addressed as much in the unfortunately in the medical field.
Mhm. I definitely agree with
uh
that.
we're seen more as just like a machine,
Mhm.
more so than a holistic just being that that's really I mean, we have
Mhm.
complex things happening with us that go beyond just the physical.
I
So
agree.
it's so beautiful to hear you say that,
Mhm.
because that makes me feel like, okay, yeah, like it's so cool to hear it from somebody else, because it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
So
There's
yes.
an image that came to my head, while you were talking, I'm sorry, was, like the image of a cone, and at the bottom of the cone is the human body, and, at the top of the cone is the spiritual experience. The
Mm,
mental experience and the emotional experience happen somewhere in the middle, and the emotional, mental, and spiritual experience all together is what affects the body and manifests the body. So, what we are holding on to emotionally and what we are holding on to mentally has a dramatic effect on what the body holds on to. So, a lot of the physical illness can be stemmed from the spiritual, emotional, and mental parts of ourselves.
that is so powerful. I totally saw that cone, that upside down cone going like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So and it's true. It's absolutely true. And that's the journey I'm on right now. I feel like I'm still working on the physical part of my journey right now, but I've had to really sit with the emotional and the mental a lot, and the spiritual too. But I feel like I started with the emotional and the mental first, and then I realized
Hmm.
that the spiritual was also part of it. So I've been weaving into that, that
Hmm.
experience. Do you feel do you so how do you feel you've weaved your experience with all these different tools? Like, are there certain tools that you use more than others, or are you using them all equally when it comes
Uh,
down to healing tools?
well, I'm currently training to be a yoga teacher. One of the things that I've always kind of done is one of the niyamas. I can't remember the exact Sanskrit name, but it's basically introspection. And that's
Mm,
probably the biggest tool that I work with. That's like the foundation of what has happened over the last 9 years since my vision is full on introspection. What is happening in me that makes me want to act a certain way? What kind of judgments are coming up around people that are around me? Kind of expectations? What kind of thoughts? I look at all those things very deeply. And I try to see how it may have been triggered by emotions from the past or memories from the past or what I'm holding on to have these things take place with my own mental and emotional experience. That's my
mm,
biggest tool. That's probably the thing that I'm always looking at the most is how how are these things happening within me?
that's powerful. I love that because it gives you that opportunity to really assess where you're at, right? And
Hmm.
then continue to recognize where things are. And the more we do that, the more awareness we bring into our internal landscape, the more empowered we feel to take action, I feel like.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
all right,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to just we're at the end of the call now, and I just wanted to ask you, first of all, where can people find you and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, people can find me at Rewrite My Story on Facebook. You can also visit my website from the Facebook page, or it's re-writemystory.com. You can also find me heroes underscore write their story on TikTok. I suck at video games on Twitch. Sometimes I'll be on there just chatting randomly. I had what was supposedly an AI on there chatting with me, trying to learn about
Oh, wow.
spirituality. So that was interesting.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and you can also find Rewrite My Story presents Our Story podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, and I'll leave all of that information on the description as
Mm-hmm.
well. So if you need to grab that from the description, you can do so.
Mm-hmm.
So before I let you go, I just wanted to ask you one question, one question to leave with the audience, and that would be if you got to if you got to recommend one thing to start with for somebody who's just starting out and they feel lost right now and they just want to start somewhere, what is the one thing you would recommend for them to start with in their healing
Journal.
journey?
Right.
Journal.
Yes.
That's
If you can
powerful.
if you can get it out, you can deal with it. If you have it stuck in there and you have too many things bouncing off those emotions and those thoughts, you're never going to be able to deal with it. If you have to, write it out as if you're having a conversation with yourself. Why do I feel this way? Eventually it'll start to come out and you'll be able to actually get that on paper. Once you have that on paper, you can deal with
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Brian, I want to thank you so much for saying yes to this
it. It's my
conversation.
pleasure. I hope
And
I was able to answer your questions fine. I was a little
yeah,
nervous.
absolutely. No, no, absolutely not. I'm so grateful for you. And I hope that we get you to come back again in the future. I'd love to, for those of you who don't know, we didn't get the chance to mention, but you're working on finding this beautiful balance between spirituality and energy work and psychology, and you're very interested in that. So I would love for you to come
Mm-hmm.
back and have a conversation around that,
Yes.
around those aspects. So we'll do that for sure. So thank you everyone for watching. And if you like this video, make sure that you hit the like button and that you hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again. Namaste. If you like this video and you found it activating, I just want to ask you to please share this video with someone that you love. Make sure that you like the video as well. Make sure you put in the comments what you felt you learned from this conversation. And I also would love for you to make sure that you subscribe to this channel. While subscribing to the channel is an important step, also sharing the video is such an important thing for this channel. When you help me grow this channel, you're not just helping me, but you're also helping others who could potentially get impacted positively by the work that I am putting into this space. So thank you so much for being here, for saying yes to yourself, for listening, for expanding. I cannot wait to connect with you and bring more people into this space so that you can get inspired. Thank you, and namaste.